Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to do, as I told you, the basics of Java, and then I'll move ahead with the next topics of the grade 9 and onwards. So first of all, for doing the practicals, right, the coding practicals, you need a application interface. So that is a BlueJ. That's the best software available. So you Google it BlueJ, and then it takes you to this screen, and from here, as per your OS, you'll download Windows or Mac or right. So since I have already downloaded, so I need not to download it now. I'll just open it and then we'll start working on this. Yeah. So when you open it, comes something like this, right? So this of course won't be there. Uh, the first thing you have to do is you have to go to the project. So you have to go to your project option, and from here you have to go to new project, and then you have to give a name. Like I give a name like grade 9 series. Okay, once I do okay, this screen comes up and here you have to start coding. The first thing first, what you have to do is you have to go for a new class. Whenever you have to create a new program, you have to go to a new class. Okay, so when you go to a new class, you have to start with say program 1. Okay, and then this window comes up, you double click on this and then you start coding. Right? So before start Before we start code our first program, I'll just discuss the variables and their basic data types. The data types in details I'll discuss in the chapter values and data types. So here are the basic details I'll discuss with you. So let me take you to the whiteboard and then we'll do it there. So here's the whiteboard, and in the whiteboard, let's first break a program. Okay, a program or our code, any problem, any code can be broken into three parts. The first part is input, the second part is process, and then you have output. Okay, let's take an example of suppose if we want to add two numbers. If you have to add two numbers, you have to get two numbers from the user, like 2 plus 3. So this is your input part. Now the addition is going to happen. So addition is going to happen. That addition is your process. And the answer 5, when it will be displayed on the monitor, that will be your output. So any computer program can be broken into input, process, and output. That's the idea, right? And as we know that these input, process, and output, these are some steps being taken by the program. So these are basically the functions. We call it functions or methods, right? So we would have an input function, a process function, and an output function. These brackets denotes that these are functions. Okay, these might have a word void or something else in front of it. That I'm going to discuss when we do function in detail. Right now, you understand it has a word void or any word before that. Then this is the name, and if this bracket is there, it's a function. All right. So now, what does this input function is going to do? As we discuss the classes and object behavior, this object concept, these are the behaviors of an object. Okay. Then what is the characteristics? The characteristics, as we discussed, are the variables. Now, when we are going to take the input from user, like the numbers 2 and 3, where they are going to store? They are going to get stored into some variables. So those variables are the characteristics, right? Suppose I have declared two variable A and B here, stored A equals to 2 and B equals to 3. And then I have added here the sum of them, and then I have printed the answer. Okay, let's first discuss the variable a little in detail. Like variables, as we told you, are the characteristics. So like in this program, I need to take two variables. Now, what is a variable actually? Variable is a memory location. When we say memory location, that is it's a place in the memory where the value of it is going to get stored. Suppose as and when I declare a variable. Suppose I have declared a variable int a. Now this int is meaning that this variable a is going to store integer values, not decimal values. I'll just explain you further. So now, as soon as I have done this declaration in the memory, suppose this is the memory of the computer. In the memory, a particular area has been allocated for a. Okay. And then later on, either you store the value of the variable or you take input from the user. This is going to get stored. Now this 2 and go will go and get stored here in the memory, right? So that's how the variable declaration and memory allocation works. Now, whether it's an integer, whether it's an alphabet, whether it's a character, all of them are data, right? So data is what? Data is information which you get from anywhere. Now that information or data has different types, which are called data types, right? So the first data type is integer. Okay, and let's take the more wider example. The first data type is numeric, and the second data type or second category of data is non-numeric. So as the name says, this numeric is going to hold numbers only, and this non-numeric is going to hold all non-numbers. So in the numeric, now we have two further categories called integer, which is going to hold non-decimal number. Okay, and here the another one is decimal, which is going to hold decimal numbers. Now when we go to the non-numeric, here you will have characters like an alphabet A or the full word like the word apple. Okay, so when we say the full word apple, that is a word string that goes into string. When we say only A, that's a character. Now a non-numeric data types or a string data type is universal kind of thing. It can store anything. It can store a number, an alphabet, a symbol, whatever. It can store a number. You heard it right. It can store a number, but it's not going to do calculation on the number. Okay, I'll show you with an example later on. So it can store anything, but if it stores a number, suppose you are storing something, you have declared a variable number by string type. That is, it is going to hold string things. And then you somehow manage to store a number into it, 15, right? Then if you want to do a calculation on 15, that you want to say 15 into 2, number 1 into 2, that's going to not work. That's going to not work because it is not, it although it is a number, its face value is number, its type is a string. Okay. So now let's quickly do what are the data type means, how you specify these words in Java. So for integer, there's int. So if you have to declare a variable as integer, you have to say int a. For decimal, there's a double. So if you have to declare a variable as double, you have double b, right? For character, there's a char. If you want to store a variable by the name character, it's char alpha. And for the word, as you already know, is a string. All right. Now we'll go to BlueJ and I'll show you how I have to use or we can use these all things in a code and make a simple program, right? So let's move on to BlueJ. Okay, so here we are on the same screen where we left from the program one. So now I'm going to code it here. Now actually know that class, the program in Java needs to be done in a class. Okay, class is encapsulation. So let's make a class by the name program one as the it's my first program. You can have any name, and let's start the curly bracket and close it. So let's make a body of it. Now this body of it is acting as an encapsulation. It's encapsulating inside. What are the two things? The behavior and characteristics. The characteristics are variable. Let's take the same example of adding two numbers, right? Let's take one integer number and one decimal number. All right, let's take number one, number two. That will be more better names for the variables, number one and number two. Okay, and now we have to make three methods. The first method is going to be input, which is going to take input, right? Another one is process, which is going to do the process, as we discussed earlier. Another one is output, which is going to do the show the output on the screen. And what will be, are these enough? Or there is one more thing. There's one more very important function left, name. Okay. Why this function is public static void name? Why we are not writing it as simply uh, void main and all those things as we have been doing earlier, right? That I'll explain you when I explain the main function in detail. So for the now, this is a special function. This is the function from where the compilation starts, from where the control first comes into the program, and then from here it is decided which function it has to go or not. Now, as I told you that Java can take input from anything, like it can take input from a video input, like the movement of the image. It can take input from a sensor, like thermal sensor and all those things. But here in our program, we need to take the input from the keyboard. So for that, we have to create an object of a ready-made class, which allows you to have your input device for this program as a keyboard, or in a very simple language, you have to connect the keyboard to the program. So scanner sc equals to new scanner system.in. Now system.in is system means computer and in is input device. So system's input device, which is going to be the keyboard only, right? Now this is going over here an error, because the thing is the definition for this particular scanner class is not here. We have not defined any other class than class program, which we are doing in our program. So the definition of this is in some another file. Okay. So how did you link that? You remember the inheritance process? Similar to like that. So I'm linking now the scanner class to this particular program by the command import java.util.start. For now you understand that you need to connect this file to your every program, then only the scanner function or scanner class object works. Okay. So this thing and this thing has to be there in every program. Now we are going to take input from the user. Now to take input from the user, we have to first ask user that please type this thing. Please type two numbers. Please type an alphabet, something like that. To show something on the screen, you have a command, you can say, or a function, ready-made function, or a command for now you understand. System.out.println rather. Enter to enter a integer number, because my first number is an integer, non-decimal. Okay, so when this message is shown on the screen, user is going to type something on the keyboard against this message in response to this message. So that will go to the number one. So number one equals to sc.next int. So this particular statement is taking the data from keyboard and storing it into number one. Okay. For example, if you have to store 5 into number one, how will you do that? You will do that like this. Number one equals to 5. Similarly, I'm saying number one equals to whatever is coming from the keyboard. That's it. It's that simple. So now I just copy paste these two statements, because I've taken another number from user like this, and I'll say enter a decimal number. So when I say decimal number, I should take it into number two. And now it's a decimal number, so I should say next double. Okay, so number one, number two comes up over here. Now the process function, as we all know, process function is for adding in our case. So it will just do adding. Now adding has to be done into another variable. So we need one more variable here to store the sum, that is the answer. And since when we add integer with a decimal, the answer is going to come in decimal. So the data type or the type of the data, type of the variable is going to be double. So double answer. Then here's I say answer equals to number one plus number two. So I have done the process and now I'm going to show the output on the screen. So as you know that this is the message which shows the output on the screen. So I'll copy this from here to here and I'll say sum is plus answer. All right, now in the main function, as you know, you just have to call the methods, which function to run, which function not to run. In this case, we have to run both all the functions. So I'll first call the name of the input. This is the way you call a function. You just have to give the name. Okay. So I just have to remove the static here. Why I removed the word static, I'll let you know later on. Input, process, and output. Okay. And then the class is ending here. So my class is ending. You can see the curly bracket closing. Okay. So now I'll compile it. To compile, I just have to click at compile. It compiles and I'll go to the main screen and try to run it. All right. And then this way I have to run the main function. This is the way the code we have to run a code when I'm not using any object. Right now I'm not using any object. Okay, so it's asking for a number. I think it's not visible on your screen, but it's showing me down below. I'm typing number 34. Enter decimal number. I type 23.5 and it gave me the answer as 57.5. All right. I hope this is clear to you. So let's go to the code again. So here's another example where I have defined a class student which has two properties, name, grade, and two more properties, total four properties, total marks and percentage, right? So now, as you have seen in the previous example also, that we are connecting a scanner class to connect my keyboard to the program. Then I have an input function where I'm asking the user to enter the name of the student, which goes into the name, asking class studying and total marks together. So we can ask them together with the one message and then take the two details one after another. Grade equals to sc dot next since it is a string, so no integer and double in front of it. Total marks is double, so next double. Then there's a void process which is going to calculate the percentage for it, the percentage formula. And then we have our output function here. Now in the main, we are creating two objects, obj1 and obj2. This is the way we create an object and using that object to call the method. So as soon as we create an object one photocopy of all these variable behaviors has been created in the memory. So that means obj1.name, obj1.grade, obj1.total marks, and obj1.percentage is in the memory. Similarly with object2, all these variables photocopies created. So when I call input method with object1, whatever input the user gives, that goes into the object, uh, whichever object I'm calling. Right now I'm calling object2, so it will go to the object2's version, right? If I call like obj1 dot input, then whatever details I will give, that will go to this set of variables. Now this calling is sending the data to this set of variables. Then I call process with object1, process with object2. So this has calculated the percentage of first student, this has calculated percentage of second student. Same way, this has shown the calculation of first student and this has shown the our calculation of the second student on the screen. As per the output function, which just shows the name is this, grade is this, and percentage marks is this. Okay, so now if you will observe here, we are taking the details of two students, that is two name, two grades, two total marks, and two percentages. But we only have one set of variables. So why it is not getting overwritten? Because the object are making a photocopy of this set of variables. So that's the advantage of object. We need not to write the code again and again. We just use an object to call the method. We use the object to call the method, and it works. All right. I'll just try to show you on a blue chair how output it gives. Let me just switch out to blue chair. So it's the main screen. I'm running the code here. I have a main function. Then it goes onto the screen. It asks me the name. I'll give the name as Roshni. It asks me the grade. Say I say ninth grade. I scored 340 marks out of 500. Another name, Tushar, grade, scored say 340 marks out of 500, and then it gives me the detail of both those two. So now you would have understood that. Let me take it back to the whiteboard. Yeah, yeah. So you have understood that although we have only one set of variable name, grade, total marks, percentage, but it is taking two names, two grades, two time total marks, two time percentage, because we have created objects and then we are using those objects to call the method. Now you would have a better idea of the concept of objects and classes and methods and all those things. As we go in details, I'll keep on explaining you this in much more details. All right. So thank you very much for giving your time, and please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.